All right, so we're going to do an outside walk around on our S780. One thing that's different about an S780 is it does have the Active Vision cameras, which are part of the Combine Advisor package. So next I'm going to show you what those Active Vision cameras look like and where they're located. So as we lift our gull wing door, we're going to see our first Active Vision camera right here on our tailings elevator. So to disengage this Active Vision camera, we simply unplug the harness from the back of it, open the door, slide it down, and right here you're going to see our Active Vision camera. So the camera is actually located behind the piece of glass here. One thing that's important about these cameras is they do need to be cleaned fairly regularly, and it will give us that information in the cab. If we get a lot of debris, one thing's the Gen 4 system will actually tell you that we have debris on the camera and that it does need to be cleaned. So when we put it back in place, you simply slide it forward, push it up, re-engage the locks, and simply plug it back in. So this is going to be our Active Vision camera on our tailings elevator. This is going to be our Active Vision camera on our clean grain elevator. You're going to notice it's right on the side of the moisture meter. So our moisture meter is located here, and the auger for the moisture meter located here. If we look back on the tailings elevator, you're going to see what looks like a moisture meter, but there is not a moisture meter. It's just the shell of a moisture meter because we're using this auger. So to clean out the auger on each of them, you simply pull the two pins out. Once you disengage the pins, auger comes out. We want to make sure that these are nice and clean. That's going to make sure that we get accurate moisture readings and get a good reading inside our Active Vision camera. To reinsert the auger, we simply line it up with the rod on the inside. Once we get it lined up, push it all the way to the top. Many times we come up a little bit short, so we simply turn the auger. Once that auger is turned, we then reinsert both pins, and we've got the system nice and cleaned out. It is important, one, to clean out the augers on both and clean the cameras on both. So from here, other things that we want to make sure of, make sure that both of our doors are closed on our tailings elevator and our clean grain elevator. Up at the top, we also want to make sure that we've got the grain tank doors closed before we begin harvest. Back here on this side, since this is a S780, 780 uses our Wreath thrashing system. The Wreath thrashing system has two positions, that being the corn setting and the grain setting. For 90% of the crops here in Arkansas, we're going to leave it on our corn setting and never go down to our grain setting. If we get into some wheat, we may go down to the grain setting, but outside of that, we're going to leave that on the corn setting. So all that is just going to change to a more wide open concave as opposed to a tighter closed concave. So if you're looking for information on how to actually set up the outside of the combine, one thing that's important, as we mentioned earlier in one of our previous videos, is the outside configuration is listed inside the Gen 4 display. It's also located on our iPad. So on our iPad, there's the Go Harvest app. It's located from the App Store, whether that be from the Apple App Store or from the Android App Store. It's located or available for both devices. So when you go through the app, we'll actually show you some more on just how the app works. But the good thing about it is it gives you a picture of the outside of the machine and lets you walk around to do a proper crop changeover. So what we did is we've already looked at our tailings. So now we're going to go up to the front and look at our feeder house drum position. So the first thing we're going to look at when we get up here is when we change our feeder house drum, we can put it in the upper or the lower position. To change that position, we simply pull the pin back and move the handle up or down to get it into the proper position. We do want to make sure that the pin does re-engage so that it's locked in the proper position. One thing that's important about the feeder house drum is this handle is on both sides of the throat. We have to make sure that we adjust both handles so that it's level and it's not up and down on either side. The other thing that's important is what's right back behind us. This is going to be the feed accelerator. The feed accelerator has two positions. Up on the front, you're going to see the bunny. You're also going to see the turtle. So what's going to happen when you move the handle, you're simply relieving tension from the belt. Once you let that tension off, you reposition the belt in the proper position and simply retension the belt. It's a pretty easy thing to do. Do understand this handle does not change the setting. It's just relieving the tension so that you can change it manually. If you're looking for the serial number on your S-Series combine, it's located right above the feed accelerator handle. It's always important to know where that is. We'll continue around the front. So here on the other side, you're going to see the handle that we mentioned from the previous side for the feeder house drum position. Again, the system is the same. Do regard that that handle is a little hidden up in there, so you need to make sure that you can get to it. It's much easier to do this with the header off than it is with the header on. Up here, you're also going to see our single point connector. So that single point connector is how we're going to connect our header. It is important to make sure you remove that cover and stow that. So we're able to make our single point connection here and our shaft connection here. Coming on back. When we lift our gull wing door on this side, a couple of things we want to be mindful of. If we're going to change our rotor speed, many times in the cab we'll try to adjust our rotor speed up or down, and we're not actually able to achieve the appropriate rotor speed. So you notice this black handle right here. This is going to be our gear shift for our rotor. We simply pull that handle in and out. It does have 3 positions: first gear, neutral, and second. So if we're not able to turn fast enough, we need to shift it into second gear. If we're not able to turn slow enough, we need to turn it down to first gear. Do remember back here for our concaves and our separator grates, this is how we access those. When taking these doors off, you want to make sure that you number these before you take them off, so that when you have to put them back on, they go back in the right order. As far as up here at the front, you're going to see again our grain tank clean outs. Make sure those are closed before we go to the field. The only other thing that's important back here is going to be our power block. So our power block is located here, and our battery cutoff is going to be located here. If at any point in time the machine needs to be boosted, our boost blocks are located right here, so that we don't actually have to get all the way to the power bank. We can actually boost from right here. And our battery kill switch is located right underneath those. Now, if you're on a 70 or a 60, the battery cutoff is on the other side because the battery bank is on the opposite side. Continuing on to the back, this unit is equipped with a chopper. So it is important that as we swap crops, we change our knife bank engagement and that we change our spreader and our chopper. So we have our setting here and our setting here. So you need to make sure, depending on what crop you're in, you get those settings changed appropriately, and that you make sure that the residue system is in the lowered position. If you need to raise it to the raised position, you can go right here. You can engage the residue system from the outside of the machine, which then will give you access to the rear of the machine. So if you need to do any kind of clean out or any type of service, do know that that switch is right here, and it will work whether the machine is turned on or turned off. The other thing we've got back here are lights so that we can actually see inside of the machine. But it is important to know that we can move that residue management system from the ground. As far as changing any other changes back here with our knife bank engagement, you move the pins, remove the pins at the top. Door slides out of the way and gives us greater access back to the rear of the machine.